Archangel Michael, this message was delayed for your protection. My beloved child. There are moments in life when silence feels louder than words. Days when you wonder why your prayers seem unanswered, why opportunities disappear just as you reach for them, or why the message you've been waiting for never arrives. In this story, imagine that a heavenly messenger watches over your path, not to control your destiny, but to remind you that every delay may carry a hidden purpose. The old traveler sat alone beneath an ancient olive tree as the evening sky slowly turned gold. In his hands rested an unopened letter, worn by time yet untouched. For years he had waited for the courage to read it. Many believed the letter contained the answer to every question he had ever asked. Others whispered that it held a warning too powerful to ignore. When the traveler finally unfolded the paper, there was only one sentence written in brilliant light. This message was delayed for your protection. He stared at those words in disbelief. How could a delay be an act of mercy? As the wind whispered through the leaves, he began remembering every disappointment he had ever experienced. The job he never received. The journey that was unexpectedly cancelled. The friendship that suddenly ended. The relationship that slipped away despite his deepest hopes. Each painful memory had once felt like proof that heaven had forgotten him. But what if none of those events were accidents? What if unseen dangers had existed beyond his understanding? The traveler closed his eyes. He realized that years earlier he had nearly boarded a ship that later vanished into a violent storm. Another time, he had planned to invest everything he owned into a business that eventually collapsed. He remembered being angry when those plans failed. Now he saw them differently. Sometimes protection doesn't arrive with bright lights or dramatic miracles. Sometimes it arrives disguised as disappointment. Sometimes the greatest blessing is the closed door you never wanted. The traveler looked toward the mountains. The sky shimmered with colors unlike anything he had ever seen. He imagined a guardian standing in the distance, not speaking, not demanding, only reminding him that patience often reveals what panic never can. Perhaps every delayed answer had been preparing him for a stronger future. Perhaps every unanswered prayer had been protecting him from a path he could not yet understand. For the first time in many years, peace replaced frustration. He whispered softly, "Maybe I wasn't forgotten after all." And with that realization, the journey truly began. There are seasons when you believe time itself has turned against you. You watch others move ahead while your own road seems frozen. Questions echo in your heart, and every passing day feels like another reminder that nothing is changing. But imagine, just for a moment, that what appears to be delay is not abandonment. Imagine that every pause has been quietly shaping you into someone capable of carrying a greater purpose than you can presently see. The traveler folded the mysterious letter and placed it carefully inside his cloak. The single sentence continued to echo in his mind. This message was delayed for your protection. As dawn painted the horizon with soft shades of gold, he continued walking toward the distant mountains. The air was cool, and a thick mist covered the narrow path ahead. Every few steps, the fog became denser until he could barely see beyond his own hands. Fear whispered, "Turn back. This road leads nowhere." But hope answered, "Keep walking. You do not need to see the entire journey to take the next step." So he walked. Hours passed in silence. The only sounds were the rustling leaves and the steady rhythm of his footsteps. Then, through the mist, he noticed the ruins of an ancient bridge. The wooden planks had rotted away long ago, leaving only broken beams hanging over a deep canyon. The traveler stopped. He realized that if he had arrived here months earlier, before the bridge collapsed, he would have crossed without hesitation. Yet had he done so, the bridge might have given way beneath him. His heart trembled. Another delayed journey. Another unseen danger. He looked upward and whispered, "Perhaps not every interruption is an obstacle. Perhaps some are acts of unseen mercy." As the mist slowly lifted, a safer path appeared along the canyon's edge, a trail hidden from view until the right moment. The traveler smiled. Life often feels the same. We mourn the road that closes before us, unaware that another path is quietly being revealed. With renewed strength, he continued forward. Along the trail, he met an elderly woman tending a small garden of wildflowers. She greeted him warmly and offered him fresh water. "You seem burdened," she said. "I've spent years wondering why so many doors closed," the traveler admitted. The woman nodded knowingly. "Seeds are buried before they bloom," she replied. "If they could speak, they might believe the darkness means they have been forgotten. Yet beneath the soil, they are becoming strong enough to reach the light." Those words settled deeply within him. He realized that growth often happens where no one can see it. The greatest transformations are usually invisible until their season arrives. As evening approached, the traveler climbed a nearby hill. From its summit he could see valleys, rivers, forests, and winding roads stretching far beyond the horizon. For the first time, he understood that every path connected in ways impossible to recognize from below. The detours. The delays. The unexpected turns. Together, they had formed a journey far wiser than any plan he could have designed himself. He took a deep breath and felt a quiet confidence rising within. Not because every question had been answered, but because he no longer needed every answer before taking the next faithful step. The wind carried away the last traces of the morning mist. Ahead, the path remained long. Its destination was still unknown. Yet his heart was no longer filled with fear. It was filled with quiet expectation. Somewhere beyond the next mountain, another lesson awaited. And this time, he was ready to receive it. There are moments when waiting feels heavier than walking. You keep moving, yet it seems as though nothing changes. You wonder if your efforts matter, if your prayers have been heard, or if your destination is still ahead of you. Imagine that the quiet seasons are not empty at all. Imagine they are the places where courage is quietly taking root. The traveler continued along the winding trail as morning light spilled across the hills. The air was calm, but the path became steeper with every step. By midday he reached a broad valley unlike any place he had seen before. It was peaceful. Almost too peaceful. There were no crowds, no noise, no signs pointing toward the future, only a gentle breeze moving through fields of tall grass. At first, the silence made him uncomfortable. He had spent so much of his life searching for dramatic signs that he had forgotten how to listen to stillness. He sat beside a small stream and watched the clear water flow over smooth stones. It never rushed, never struggled. It simply continued, patiently finding its way around every obstacle. The traveler smiled. Perhaps strength was not always loud. Perhaps true strength was the quiet decision to keep moving, even when progress seemed slow. As the afternoon passed, dark clouds gathered over the valley. Thunder rolled across the sky, and rain began to fall. He found shelter beneath an old stone arch and waited. The storm lasted for hours. He wanted to leave, but every attempt to continue ended with fierce winds pushing him back. Frustration returned. "Why now?" he whispered. "Why must I stop again?" Then he noticed something remarkable. A group of weary travelers emerged from the opposite side of the valley, soaked from the rain and searching desperately for shelter. Seeing the stone arch, they hurried toward it. Because he had been delayed, he was there to welcome them. He shared his food. He offered them dry blankets from his pack. He listened to their stories. One had lost hope after many disappointments. Another carried guilt from choices made long ago. A young child among them had never seen such kindness from a stranger. As they talked through the storm, each person encouraged the others in ways none of them expected. The traveler realized something beautiful. If he had continued according to his own schedule, he would never have met these people. His delay had become someone else's answer. When the rain finally stopped, a brilliant rainbow stretched across the valley. The travelers stood together, quietly admiring its colors. No one spoke. Words were unnecessary. The moment itself carried its own message. Before leaving, the oldest traveler turned to him and said, "Sometimes the road delays us so we can become a blessing to someone else." Those words stayed with him long after they parted ways. As evening approached, the traveler climbed another ridge. From the top he looked back over the valley that had once seemed like wasted time. Now it looked different. It was no longer a place of waiting. It had become a place of purpose. He understood that not every season is meant for reaching the summit. Some seasons are meant for becoming the kind of person who can stand there with wisdom, compassion, and humility. With renewed determination, he continued his journey beneath a sky filled with stars. Ahead, distant mountains glowed softly in the moonlight. The path was still uncertain. But his heart was no longer asking, "Why am I delayed?" Instead, it quietly asked, "Who am I becoming during the delay?" And as he walked into the night, he sensed that the greatest chapter of his journey was still waiting just beyond the horizon. There are days when a closed door feels like the end of every dream. You knock with hope, wait with patience, and still nothing happens. In those moments, it is easy to believe that life has forgotten your name. But imagine if every door that remained shut was quietly protecting you from a path that was never meant to be yours. The traveler walked through the cool morning air, following a narrow trail that led toward an ancient stone village nestled between towering cliffs. As he entered the village, he noticed something unusual. Every house had its windows open, allowing warm sunlight to fill the rooms. Every house except one. At the very end of the road stood a weathered cottage with a large wooden door tightly closed. Dust covered its steps, and vines wrapped around its walls as if time itself had stopped there. An old man sitting nearby noticed the traveler staring. "Many people have tried to open that door," the old man said softly. "Some pushed with all their strength. Others begged for it to open. None succeeded." Curious, the traveler stepped closer. He placed his hand on the rough wood and pushed gently. Nothing. He pushed harder. Still nothing. Frustration rose within him. "Why won't it open?" he asked. The old man smiled kindly. "Because what is behind that door no longer belongs to anyone. People keep trying to enter yesterday while tomorrow waits behind them." The word struck the traveler like a gentle wind. How often had he done the same? How many times had he tried to reopen moments that had already passed? He thought of friendships that had ended, dreams that had changed, and plans that had fallen apart. He had spent years wishing those doors would open again. The old man pointed toward a narrow path hidden behind the cottage. "I have watched travelers stand before that closed door for days," he said. "Few ever notice the path behind it." The traveler walked around the old cottage. There, hidden by tall trees, was a beautiful trail leading upward through a peaceful forest. Sunlight filtered through the branches, painting the ground with golden light. Birds sang joyfully, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. It was a path he would never have seen if the old door had opened. As he climbed higher, he reached a quiet hill overlooking the valley. In the center stood a single oak tree, its roots deep and its branches stretching toward the sky. Beneath the tree was another letter. Unlike the first, this one contained several lines written in graceful script. "Do not measure love by how quickly your desires are fulfilled. Measure it by how faithfully you are guided, even when the way is hidden. The road you feared losing was never your destination. The road waiting ahead is greater than you imagined." The traveler held the letter close. For the first time, he no longer wished to return to the past. Instead, he felt grateful for every unanswered question that had gently redirected his steps. As evening approached, the sky glowed with shades of crimson and gold. The traveler looked ahead and saw the outline of a magnificent mountain unlike any he had seen before. Its peak disappeared into the clouds, shining with a light that seemed almost impossible to describe. He knew his journey was far from over. The greatest challenges still lay ahead. But now he carried something stronger than certainty. He carried trust. And sometimes, trust is the brightest light on the darkest road. With steady footsteps and renewed hope, he continued toward the mountain, unaware that the next chapter would reveal a truth that would change his heart forever. There are moments when you ask, why couldn't I see the truth sooner? Yet wisdom rarely arrives all at once. It unfolds one step at a time, until you are finally ready to understand what once seemed impossible. The traveler left the quiet hill before sunrise. The towering mountain stood before him, its peak hidden behind silver clouds. Every step upward demanded patience. Loose stones shifted beneath his feet, and the air grew thinner as he climbed. Several times he considered turning back. The journey had been long. His strength was fading. But deep within his heart, he remembered the words from the first letter. This message was delayed for your protection. Those words became his courage. As the sun climbed higher, he reached a wide plateau where an old watchtower overlooked valleys stretching in every direction. The tower had stood there for generations, silently watching travelers come and go. Inside, he found an elderly keeper polishing a lantern. Without looking up, the keeper said, "You've come a long way." The traveler nodded. "I thought I was searching for answers," he replied. "Now I think I was learning how to ask better questions." The keeper smiled. "Many people climb this mountain hoping to discover why life has been difficult," he said. "Few realize the mountain reveals something far greater." He handed the traveler the lantern. "Climb to the highest point before sunset." The traveler continued upward. The final stretch was steep, but as evening approached, he reached the summit. The view took his breath away. From that height, every place he had visited became visible. He could see the ancient bridge that had collapsed. The peaceful valley where the storm had delayed him. The abandoned cottage with its permanently closed door. The hidden forest path. For the first time, everything connected. What had once looked like random events now formed a beautiful pattern. Every delay had redirected him. Every disappointment had protected him. Every unexpected turn had prepared him for the next. He realized something profound. If even one event had happened differently, he might never have reached this very place. As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, the lantern in his hands began to glow, not with ordinary fire, but with a warm, steady light. The keeper's voice echoed in his memory. "The brightest light is not given to those who never face darkness. It is given to those who keep walking through it." The traveler closed his eyes. For the first time since his journey began, he no longer carried resentment toward the past. He released every "if only." Every "why me?" Every "what could have been?" In their place grew gratitude. The cool evening wind swept across the summit as thousands of stars appeared overhead. It had always been about transforming the person who climbed it. With a peaceful smile, he lifted his eyes toward the endless sky. And somewhere beyond the next horizon, a new dawn was already waiting, one that would reveal the purpose he had been preparing for all along. There comes a moment in every journey when you stop asking why the road was difficult and begin seeing what the road has made possible. The weight you once carried becomes wisdom, and the tears you once hid become reminders of how far you have come. The traveler remained on the mountaintop throughout the night. The stars filled the sky like countless lanterns, and the silence around him felt alive. It was not the silence of emptiness, it was the silence of peace. As the first rays of dawn appeared on the horizon, the old keeper climbed to the summit once more. "You have seen the paths behind you," the keeper said gently. "Now it is time to see the road ahead." He handed the traveler a small compass unlike any he had ever seen. It had no directions marked on it. Instead of pointing north, its golden needle rested over a single word. Hope. The traveler looked at it with surprise. "How can this guide me?" he asked. The keeper smiled. "The strongest journeys are not guided by fear. They are guided by hope. When hope leads your heart, your steps become steady even when the destination is hidden." Yet everything seemed brighter because his perspective had changed. As he walked through a nearby village, people noticed the quiet confidence in his face. A young woman approached him, burdened by disappointment after losing a dream she had cherished for years. "I don't understand why this happened," she said. "I prayed, I worked hard, and still everything fell apart." The traveler remembered how he had once spoken those very words. Instead of offering quick answers, he sat beside her beneath a flowering tree. "I once believed every closed door was a punishment," he said softly. "But I learned that some doors remain closed because another path is quietly waiting, one you cannot yet see." The woman listened in silence. For the first time in many days, she smiled. The traveler realized something beautiful. The lessons he had learned were no longer meant only for him. They were meant to encourage others. He continued his journey from village to village, never claiming to know every answer. Instead, he shared what his own road had taught him. That patience can become strength. That disappointment can become direction. That waiting can become preparation. And that hope can survive even the longest night. Years passed. The traveler grew older, but his spirit remained peaceful. One evening, he returned to the ancient olive tree where his journey had truly begun. He reached into his cloak and unfolded the first letter once again. The words had not changed. "This message was delayed for your protection." But he had changed. Now he understood their meaning. The delay had never been about losing time. It had been about gaining wisdom. It had been about becoming the person capable of receiving what lay ahead. As the sun set behind the hills, a gentle breeze rustled the branches above him. Every step had a purpose. Every season carried a lesson. And every delay led me exactly where I needed to be. With renewed peace, he rose to his feet and continued walking toward the horizon, not because he was searching for something missing, but because he had discovered that every new day was another opportunity to walk with courage, kindness, and hope.